What's up, people of YouTube? The Cadillac Escalade is a proven performer for GM to say the least, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars of profits all by itself last year. That's why for 2019, Cadillac has opted to mostly leave the Escalade alone and let it ride out its last model year of this generation. As always, thanks to our friends at Quantrell Cadillac for providing this fully loaded $102,000 Platinum ESV. And if you're in the market for any new Cadillac, be sure to stop by their dealership or visit their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with rivals finally stepping up to the plate with competitive products, let's see if the Escalade should remain on top. So starting out with the exterior design, this is an iconic shape, so you're not going to see any changes for 2019. That means you'll continue to find the signature large and bold grille, which dominates most of the front. Now there's not much of a difference, but here on the Platinum you get even more chrome bars between the main silver ones versus the other trims. Escalade was also one of the first Cadillacs to use full vertical headlights, which look particularly distinctive here with 5 stacked crystals for the low beams and 5 more for the high beams. The daytime running light connects to the bottom, where you don't have fog lights, but you do have halogen turn signals. Now of course this vehicle looks huge from most angles, but in no place does it look as gigantic as at the side. We of course have the extended wheelbase ESV, which is 20 inches longer than the regular model, and in total measures in at a touch over 18.5 feet long. But the bulk is all part of the appeal. So in the back, it continues to embrace it with the signature boxy design. There is a large chrome bar across the rear and giant LED taillights with clear lenses to frame it all up. Underneath, you've got one hidden exhaust pipe and a full-size spare tire. And while we're back here, I will mention the tow ratings of 8,100 pounds with 2-wheel drive and 7,900 pounds with 4-wheel drive. Both those figures are 200 pounds less than the regular size model, and 300 pounds less than what you get in the equivalent Navigator L. But overall, I think the Escalade delivers exactly what owners in this segment want, an unmatched presence that makes your success known instantly. Now checking out some of the other exterior details, we have the standard Platinum 22-inch wheels, which have a very unique silver and chrome design, with a plastic hubcap in the middle. You can still get 22s on all but the standard model, and regardless, there is a huge collection of optional wheels ranging from classy to pretty outrageous. Coming up to the mirrors, they are fully loaded with heating, power folding, and auto dimming across all models, but side blind zone alert requires at least the luxury. And as far as your other safety systems, the luxury also includes low-speed automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and auto high beams. While the premium luxury unlocks adaptive cruise control, as well as fancier radar-based front and rear auto braking. As of now, Super Cruise is not available, but it will likely be added to the next generation. And the last thing we'll look at on the outside is the fuel tank. It is a massive 31-gallon tank, so even though this obviously doesn't get great fuel economy, it still gets an impressive fuel range of 527 miles. Cadillac does recommend that you use premium fuel. Well, that pretty much wraps up the outside, so now let's dive into the extreme opulence of the cabin. So of course, as Cadillac's flagship vehicle, you do have standard smart entry, as well as this really nice key fob with real metal trim. Additionally, across all models, you've also got remote start. Now to get inside the vehicle, there is not a sensor behind the handle, so you just press this button. And you will also notice you do have door handle illumination. Now checking out the interior of the 2019 Escalade Platinum, as you can tell, it's as visually stunning as ever. What you're looking at right now is the exclusive Platinum Maple Sugar color scheme. However, you can also get a Platinum and Jet Black if you prefer. As far as your standard trims, you have Jet Black or Shale to choose from. And then the premium trims also have the option of a Kona brown color option for an additional $2,000. All models do come standard with real leather. However, when you go up to the Platinum trim, you get the exclusive semi-aniline leather. And turning to the door trim, it is covered with beautiful materials. So you've got really supple leather all across the door trim, even the upper part. And then the Platinum gets this exclusive wood trim. Your door handle is real aluminum. And then for your windows, they are one-touch automatic down for all four and auto up for the front two. Across all trims of the Escalade, you do have two-person memory seating as well. Now turning over here to the seat, most Escalades come with a 12-way power seat. However, here on the Platinum, we have an 18-way power seat with 3-mode massaging. And that's controlled with these two buttons right here. Like I already mentioned, this is semi-aniline leather, and it's some of the nicest I have ever felt. Really gorgeous. Now we do have power running boards, so getting in is super easy. Now I've never been in an Escalade with the maple sugar interior, and I have to say, visually, it takes things to a whole new level. Actually, if you choose the maple sugar interior, the materials are a little bit different. Though across all Platinums, you do have a leather dashboard. However, in the middle, they've taken out the Alcantara that's on the black model and replaced it with more leather. Of course, right here, you've got real wood trim. And basically every conceivable place in this vehicle is covered with leather, even way down here. So it's just incredibly impressive materials. Now to start the vehicle, of course you do have push button start. And when you power up, you will see a standard 8-inch touchscreen fire up. Now over here at your gauges, these are actually a 12-inch digital display. And what I really like about this setup is that you've got 3 sections and all 3 of them are individually customizable. So basically you just use this little controller and you can go over. So right now we're over here on the right side, so you can have your gauges, you can cycle through different things. Over here in the middle, you've got your speed, and then over here you've got a whole nother grouping of different settings as well. And the other really neat thing about this setup is that when you cycle into your options, you can go to display layout and you can actually change the entire design. So as you can see, totally reconfigures into a clean looking, less conservative design. So it's really pretty slick. And then to go along with that, you do have a head-up display as well. And of course it is fully reconfigurable, so you can cycle through various things like your audio, phone, voice, RPMs, and the navigation stuff would also be there when it's activated. Now moving back to the steering, it is electric power assisted, and the Platinum gets this really lovely steering wheel. It is finished in the same maple sugar color scheme, and then you've even got the leather covered airbag as well as real wood trim. Naturally, it is heated. Now the steering wheel itself is power adjusting on all models, and you will also find standard rain sensing window wipers. Off to the side here, you've got your headlight controls as well as your 4-wheel drive controls and electronic parking brake. Now moving on to storage, as you would expect from something this big, there is certainly no shortage. So starting out over here at your center console, up top you do have a wireless phone charger, which has been upgraded with the latest CUE wireless standards. And then opening it up, you'll usually find a huge center console here. However, in this model, we have opted to have the cool box. So as you can see, you can keep things in here and refrigerate them. There's still bit storage up here, including a 12-volt outlet as well as 2 USB ports and an aux jack. You also notice that Cadillac includes a microfiber cloth so you can clean off all of the fingerprints from any of the piano black trim. Now up in front of this, you slide back the wood to reveal some cup holders as well as another big area with another 12-volt outlet and 2 more USB ports. Then the coolest thing is that you can press underneath of this trim, and this actually pops open to have another hidden storage area, also felt lined and also with another USB port. So as you can tell, there's certainly plenty of storage. Now a lot of this storage is made possible by the fact that the Escalade opts for a column mounted shifter. So of course this is very simple to use. You just pull down for drive, you can shift manually with these little toggles, and then you can press the end here to activate your towing mode. And then when we go into reverse, all Escalades come with a 360-degree camera. So you've got your traditional view with trajectory on this side, and then you've got your 360 view on this side. And you can click these different things here to toggle them on and off. I am, however, a little bit surprised that they didn't upgrade the picture quality to the latest GM standard like you see in the new Silverado and Sierra. Now heading on down here to your center console, you do have a CD player, and then right above that, you've got all of your climate controls that are made of capacitive buttons. Now this is 3-zone automatic across the board. And it's very simple to get used to. Of course, you just press, and there is a nice haptic feedback to tell you that your press has been registered. Now, some of the controls are located up here, like your zones. So you can change that stuff here as well as adjust the other stuff if you find this more convenient. And then to go along with those controls, you will find 3-stage heated seats with butt and back modes, as well as 3-stage ventilated seats, standard across all trims. Now that brings us up to our audio system, so let's go ahead and sample the Bose Centerpoint 16 speaker sound system that comes on every Escalade. I don't know if you'll be able to tell from this audio sample, but the sound quality is excellent. And for a vehicle that's famous for being driven by rappers, as you'd expect, the bass is like an earthquake. But anyways, that pretty much brings us up to our CUE system, so let's go ahead and take a quick look. Alright, so this is your Cadillac CUE system. It's not the latest version, but it pretty much has the same functionality as the newest version. So you've got your home button right there. And this brings you to a page just populated with your applications. When you click into things, it does have a haptic feedback as well. So here in the Bluetooth audio, you can of course play and pause your music, and your presets run across the bottom. And one thing I like about this system is that you've got shortcuts across the top so you can quickly bounce into other things like your phone. Heading over to our navigation system, it is standard on all Escalades. As you can see, it's a nice looking system. One of the things that Cadillac does that no other GM product has is that you've got a basically a sensor, so when you're away from the screen, all this stuff will disappear off of it, and then it will sense your approach and light back up again. So as you can see, it's disappearing right now, and then I move my hand up, now my menus are back. So that's pretty cool. You do also have your projection. So that gives you your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, both included. Then you've got your video, that's for all of your rear displays, all 4 of them. This is also where you can adjust your rear climate controls, and you can lock the rear person out if you don't want them making their own adjustments. That's more or less the main features of the Cadillac CUE system, but of course if you want to see a detailed tech help video, we have one provided in the video description. Now off to the side of the screen, there are a couple more buttons I want to point out. The top one here is mode, so this is your drive modes. You've got 3, snow, ice, tour, and sport. And then additionally, you do have power adjusting pedals, so you just obviously press that to bring them up and back. On the other side, you got some of your safety systems, your glove box release, as well as your automatic parking function, which you might need considering how big this is. Now moving on up, we do have an auto dimming mirror. However, if you flip this switch, we actually have the rear camera system, so it cuts out all your obstructions. And of course, since this is so big, it just takes you straight to the back, so you don't have to look through all 3 of the rows and all your cargo. Up above here, we've got our HomeLink universal remotes. And then you've got your power moonroof as well. Now this is just a standard size moonroof. There is not a panoramic one available due to the rear seat entertainment system, but you do have a windscreen. And I also want to point out that on the Platinum trim, the headliner is a really nice Alcantara. But overall, the cabin of the Escalade continues to be extremely impressive. Now this is probably the last model year of this generation, yet it continues to have an extreme presence and opulence that other vehicles just can't match. And like all GM vehicles, you do have a dedicated rear seat reminder. Anyways, that does it for up front, so now I'll go ahead and hand it off to Mason to show off all the features in the back.
Alright, so in the rear seat of the Escalade Platinum, you're going to find a super luxurious rear area. It's also quite spacious at 39 inches of both leg and headroom. Now that does make it a little bit less than the Lincoln Navigator. However, Cadillac does give you these standard captain's chairs, which is a nice touch, and you do have the option of making on bench seating if you want that extra seat. Now as far as the door trim is concerned, it is made of super luxurious materials just like the front. So you do have leather where your arm will rest, as well as above it, and even on the very top portion. Of course, you do have some more genuine wood trim, a nice metal door handle, and the rear windows are auto up. Additionally, you do have a nice cup holder and plenty of door storage. Now the seat itself can of course recline, and it can also slide. Now getting in is easy because we do have the power running boards. So just get in, and you do have a nice assist brake. Now of course we do have plenty of rear amenities. So to start out, you do have your own climate controls back here, so you can adjust your fan speeds, temperatures, and zones independent from the front. And of course we do also have standard 3-stage rear seat heating. Now down below that we do have this leather wrapped area here, and plenty of connections. You have an HDMI port, 2 USB ports, an aux jack, and a volume control. And further below that, we do have some more connections, so you have a 12-volt power outlet, as well as a regular household style outlet. Now, like I mentioned, the Escalade does come standard with captain's chairs, and you can opt for an extra seat if you want that. But as far as the captain's seat is concerned, you do have a nice armrest. It is adjustable. And moving up to the ceiling, you will find some nice vents, as well as your Alcantara headliner, which comes standard on the Platinum trim. Additionally, you do have an assist grip, coat hook. And coming down, you will notice one of the big features about the Escalade Platinum, and that's this rear seat entertainment system. Now actually, on the Platinum trim, we do have 4 screens, so you have one in the back of each headrest, as you can see here and over there, And we also have one mounted on the middle of the ceiling here. And as far as your fourth one is concerned, that's back here in the third row. Now, let's look at this middle one first. So in order to get it down, you just push this button, and then it will power on. And like I said, this does come standard on the Platinum truck. You also have some lighting here. And in order to turn these on, you just push this forward and push the power switch. So everyone in the rear should be nice and entertained for sure. And as far as rear space is concerned behind Drew's position, I do have plenty of it. I probably have about 6 inches of rear leg room, and my feet can easily slide up under the seat. Now scooting over here with the seat all the way back, legroom is a little bit more limited. However, Cadillac was nice to include knee cutouts. But overall, the rear seat of the Escalade Platinum is an opulent place to spend time. There's very few vehicles in any class, regardless of price, that have as many amenities and luxury touches as this car. Now to get into the third row, you can just walk back on this captain chairs model, or you can fold the seat. It is a two-stage folding, so the first fold will just fold the seat flat, and then if you push it again, it will release it and fold it out of the way. As you can see, it is mechanically operated, so you don't have to push really hard or anything like that. Now looking back in the third row, you will find 25 inches of rear leg room and 38 inches of rear headroom. That does place it a little bit less than the Navigator once again. However, it is a lot larger than the regular wheelbase model on this ESV. So let's go ahead and get back there and see what it's like. Alright, so sitting back here, I'm actually pretty comfortable in this ESV model because I have about 1 inch of leg room, but more importantly, I do have thigh support. So this ESV actually does give you a lot of additional benefits when it comes to thigh support because the floor is higher underneath of the seat instead of where your feet will rest. So on the regular wheelbase, my thighs would be sitting like this, but I do have a place to put my feet, which is really nice. And if you're planning on hauling a lot of people in the third row, you'll probably want to upgrade to the ESV. Now, of course, we do have luxury amenities like a cup holder, and of course the Alcantara trim does go back here. And Cadillac was also nice enough to include rear vents, as well as that other screen that I was telling you about earlier. And finishing off the rear, you do have a 12-volt outlet. So overall, even though this third row isn't quite as good as the Lincoln Navigator, the ESV is a big upgrade and it's very comfortable to haul people around. And I do also want to point out that there is a button if you don't want to push the handle. And it does everything for you electronically. Now coming around to the tailgate, this is where you'll notice one of the new features for 2019. And that's with the hands-free tailgate, it will now display the Cadillac emblem on the ground. So in order to do the hands-free tailgate, just wave your foot under the bumper, and it does open right up. Alright, so in terms of cargo space, this is where you're going to find a big upgrade for the ESV Escalade over the regular wheelbase. You'll find a massive 40 cubic feet behind the third row seats, which is over 25 cubic feet bigger than the regular wheelbase model. And folding those seats down, you will find 77 cubic feet behind the second row, and a massive 121 cubic feet with all the seats folded. Now this is bigger than the Navigator L, and I think it might be bigger than about any other SUV on the market. Now of course it is finished nicely back here with the nice carpet floor area, and underneath you do have additional storage. And on this Platinum model, it is also a power folding third row, so in order to fold it down, just push these buttons, and it does fold nice and fast. And I can even fold the second row back here as well, So if I want to fold that, and then I can fold this one again, make it go all the way down. So as you can see, you have about a 17-foot runway of flat area if you need to fit something really, really long back here. Now, pricing information will be covered in just a minute. Of course, the passenger seat is finished nicely with this beautiful semi-aniline leather, and it is, of course, 12-way power adjusting, and it does also have the massaging function from the driver's seat. Now, of course, the materials are superb with the dash covered entirely in leather. You have some wood trim, and it's also worth noting that even all the way down by the glove box, this is leather trimmed as well. Now, the glove box itself is electronically opening, so you just push this button on the dash, and it will open up. Now, this is felt lined as well. It's also good sized, goes back quite a way. Your sun visor does have a nice mirror, gently fading in lights, and it does also detach and extend. Alright guys, so that pretty much covers all I'm going to talk about. So now let's go ahead and talk about the beast of a powertrain.
Alrighty, so under the hood, there's no changes from 2018 since it was a bit of a refresh last year. So what you're looking at is still a 6.2 liter V8 producing 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. And that gets you a 0 to 60 of less than 5.8 seconds, which is really impressive for something so big. Now, as a lot of you know, this generation of the Escalade started out with a 6-speed automatic. Then it went to an 8-speed automatic, and now you're looking at a 10-speed automatic. And that's paired with 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. Now, of course, if you drive something like this, fuel economy is not your biggest priority, but it is rated at a decent 17 combined for both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. But anyways, let's go ahead and take it for a quick spin. So getting up to speed, it gets up to speed fast.
Yes.
This is, of course, massive, and it weighs a lot. But you've got so much power, 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. So it can get out of its way. It can really move. And it sounds really excellent as well, to boot.
And it's just, quite frankly, it's a little shocking just for something this big to move that fast. It's actually quite enjoyable, actually.
do want to talk about the transmission. It responds very quickly. It has 10 speeds, but it doesn't seem like it gets confused or anything like that. And when you want power, it definitely kicks down immediately. I also want to commend Cadillac on their steering. To me, this is perfectly calibrated for a vehicle like this. It's not so light and so disconnected that you don't know what's going on, but it's still light enough that the vehicle feels maneuverable. So you get a sense of how big the vehicle is, but without it being like really intrusive or anything like that. Now on the Escalade, you do have standard magnetic ride control, and this road is in terrible condition, and it really just kind of glides over it. You know, you don't have an air suspension or anything, but it really handles all these bumps well, and that's because it can adjust the dampers like every millisecond or something like that. So this is a really impressive system, you know, since this is something that's used in Ferraris, Corvettes, and then it can even, you know, be used in something like this. So that's pretty amazing.
Yes. And as far as just ride comfort in general, the front seats are super duper comfortable here. And on this Platinum model, they're even massaging. So right now we're riding along, I'm getting a back massage, and he could be getting some other type of massage. And it's just, comfort is a hugely important thing in this class, and the Escalade definitely has you covered.
Now, as we conclude our test drive, I do want to mention one more thing, and that's this mirror. I know this is not exactly, you know, like shockingly new or anything. It's been in Cadillacs and other GM vehicles for several years, but it's really extra impressive in a vehicle like this because you need it. You know, in a sedan, it's just cool, but in a vehicle like this, it's really, really helpful because otherwise, if I go into the traditional view, the window is like a tiny cracker a mile away. You know, you cannot see really anything meaningful, but having that display cuts out all the obstructions for all 3 rows and all the 17 feet of this is or whatever.
Yes. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching the first in-depth look at the 2019 Cadillac Escalade ESV Platinum. Stay watching for a quick overview of the pricing, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.
Mm-hmm.